Okay, well, let's transition. I have kind of an observation just from looking at our stats plus the last couple of weeks, really. At this stage, I think we only have one official 1,000-yard rusher, and we're 8 weeks into the season, and that's really surprising. Before I go any further with my own, predictions or analysis of this, what are your thoughts? I mean, why? I mean, gosh, a few years ago we had Javion Sunday getting the 1,000-yard mark in week 4. So what's going on there, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an excellent question because it is sort of puzzling. I feel like, all right, so you mentioned the fantasy football thing. You and I do play fantasy football, and for one of my fantasy leagues, I wrote a little piece earlier this year looking at running backs and several things, but I was talking a lot about how, you just don't see as many 100-yard performances in the NFL anymore by running backs. And there's a few reasons for that. And they include a proliferation of passing. I went back and looked, and I think teams pass like 25 to 30% more often than they did just even like 20 years ago. And then the other thing in the NFL, which probably affects it even more, is what we would call in fantasy football the RBBC, the running back by committee. And it's essentially, coaches realize that these running backs have a very short shelf life. They last about as long as unrefrigerated milk. They do not last long. And, guys that were stars just 3 and 4 years ago are nowhere to be found now in the NFL. So all that to say, you're seeing in the NFL, guys get like 10 to 12 carries rather than 20 to 25. And so I'm wondering, we see a lot of trickle up and trickle down in football where things that are successful on one level of football may, be stolen and used in whether it's high school to college to the NFL, or vice versa, going downward. So it does make me wonder if we're seeing maybe a little bit more of an equal distribution of carries. But it's puzzling to me because like you said, typically we would have multiple guys above 1,000 yards at this point. And so, maybe it's a little more passing, maybe it's, running back by committee, but I mean, it's interesting, puzzling. And I do feel like let's acknowledge that while we have a majority of teams probably in our Stats Plus listings, there may be a few out there that, want to keep their stats under wraps. And so there's probably one or two at least 1,000-yard rusher that we might not know about.
Well, there's one who I'm certain is over 1,000 at this point, and that's Tanner Bean from Wortham. And we just never did get official numbers in time for him this week. I don't know where Brett Chambers is at Crawford. We'll get like a surprise reveal when they send their Super Centex nominations in for how many Brett Chambers has at Crawford. And then, Major Bowden at China Spring could be in the neighborhood.
And just again, La Vega is another one that just recently sent in some stats, but I don't think they had their stat updates this
Well,
week.
La Vega and Mart, both really good running teams, but they, like you were talking about, spread the ball around so much to different guys
and a team like Mart is killing teams, and so guys tend to get less carries just because they're up by 40 points.
Right. One other area I wanted to kind of look at on this subject is I feel like we're in the post-spread era. Like, I feel like there are fewer teams, that the bell curve has come back down and there's fewer teams actually running a straight up spread. People will say they're multiple, they're pro style and stuff like that. They want to use the tight end more. And so, your spread days, your Mike Leach spread of 4 verticals, on every play, that feels like that's a thing of the past. And yet the wide receiver has become a bigger part of the game. I mean, the wide receiver continues to become progressively a more important facet of an offense. And I was even talking to Ray Biles just now about the slot receiver. And it feels like a lot of teams are putting their best offensive player that's not their quarterback at slot receiver.
Interesting. And you're right. I think if you talk to coaches nowadays and you ask them what offense do you run, the answer you're going to get more often than not is, well, we're multiple,
Mm-hmm.
And I think all that means is, we are going to run the spread in some formations, in some times, and again, you do still see it, but they're also going to line up tight, and they're going to bunch, and they're going to occasionally put a fullback in there, and 2 tight ends, and I think it benefits your offense if you are able to move the ball in a variety of different looks. Honestly, just occasionally watching some JV football, I get a little frustrated sometimes when you see bad snap after bad snap after bad snap, and they won't move out of the shotgun. And it's like, look, if you can't find a center who can snap the ball with accuracy, I'm sure he can at least hand it off between his legs. I mean, sometimes I think, it really pays to be multiple, to be versatile and have a variety of different offensive looks.
I might show a little bit of ignorance here, a little bit, maybe just not of specific knowledge of football history. I know that Tom Landry kind of innovated the shotgun snap with the Cowboys. And I don't know if that was, I'm sure, I know Tom Landry and Darrell Royal overlapped for several, maybe a decade or more. And I don't know if Darrell Royal ever used the shotgun within the Texas offense. I don't think he probably did. But when you mentioned that, bad snaps, can you imagine Darrell Royal, who famously said when you throw the ball, only 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad, right? And that's kind of the same. I mean, why would you want to throw in an extra element of something that could go wrong, right? And yet, when you get the shotgun snap right, it gives the quarterback so much better setup, and his 5 seconds or his 3.5 seconds goes to 5 seconds, or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely see why the shotgun snap was implemented and why it's attractive. And so I get it, that you want to give your quarterback that extra, whether it's a split second. I mean, split second matters, but like I said, I feel like it's good to practice a lot of different things, because then if A is not working, we've got a plan B.
Yeah.